The Battle of Cedar Lane, How I Took Back My Neighborhood. It began with a single, audacious demand. You can't park that truck in your driveway. I stood there, toolbox in hand, staring at Linda, the new neighbor who had stormed onto my property like she owned the entire block. Her manicured finger pointed at my pickup, her eyes blazing with self-appointed authority. Little did she know, her words would spark a war that would change our quiet street forever. This is the story of how I, a 52-year-old electrician, turned my power trip into a neighborhood uprising, one permit, one camera, and one perfectly legal street closure at a time. Cedar Lane was the kind of place where folks mowed their lawns on Saturday mornings and swapped stories over lemonade on porches. We weren't close-knit, but we had an unspoken code: help when needed, wave when passing, and mind your own business. I'd spent years fixing Mrs. Clara's porch light or jump-starting Tom's old sedan. That harmony was shattered when Linda moved into the corner house, her SUV gleaming with a vanity plate that read Queenal. Within days, she declared herself the unofficial sheriff of our homeowners association, wielding a clipboard and a rulebook she seemed to invent on the spot. The trouble started when I decided to convert my garage into a workshop for my electrical business. I needed space for tools, wiring, and a small office to handle invoices without driving to a rented space. My driveway became a temporary storage spot, neat stacks of conduit pipes, boxes of circuit breakers, and my trusty Ford F-150 parked front and center. Everything was legal, permitted by the city, and confined to my property. But Linda didn't see it that way. On the third day, she marched over, her heels clicking like a metronome, and demanded I clear the driveway. "It's an eyesore," she snapped. "The HOA has standards." I chuckled, thinking it was a misunderstanding. "This is my property, Linda. I've got permits." I offered to show her the paperwork, but she waved me off. "The neighborhood deserves better," she said, clutching her HOA-branded clipboard like a shield. I shrugged and went back to work, but the next morning, a fake citation was taped to my truck's windshield. It was printed in bold red ink, complete with a misspelled violation and Linda's signature scrawled at the bottom. I peeled it off, annoyed but unfazed, until a tow truck rolled up the following week. I came home from the hardware store to find my truck halfway onto a flatbed, Linda directing the driver like a traffic cop. "That's my truck, on my driveway," I shouted, sprinting over. The driver, confused, showed me a work order from the HOA, claiming my vehicle was on communal property. Linda smirked. "You were warned, Jim. We voted." I demanded to know who "we" was. She gestured vaguely, as if the trees themselves had elected her queen. Furious but calm, I showed the driver my deed, ID, and city permit. He lowered the truck and apologized. Linda stormed off, muttering about escalation. That night, I didn't sleep. I opened my laptop and dug into city zoning codes. As an electrician, I'd navigated permits for years. Linda had no idea who she was dealing with. By morning, I'd applied for a temporary street use permit, citing safety concerns for my workshop project. The city approved it within hours, thanks to my contacts from commercial jobs. The permit allowed me to close Cedar Lane for 2 weeks, complete with barricades, signs, and flashing lights. I ordered everything: steel barriers, warning cones, and a sign reading "Authorized Vehicles Only." Permit 4721B. When the equipment arrived, Cedar Lane transformed into a construction zone. Barricades blocked both ends, and a blinking beacon sat squarely in front of Linda's SUV, trapping it in her driveway. She stormed out, her face red. "What is this nonsense?" she shrieked. I handed her a laminated copy of the permit. "You said I couldn't use my driveway, Linda. So now, no one's using the street. Safety first." Her jaw dropped, speechless for the first time. I walked away, my phone recording the moment. The neighborhood's reaction was unexpected. Tom, the retired mechanic across the street, called it the best thing since cable TV. His grandkids rode bikes in the car-free zone, and Mrs. Clara said the quiet was like heaven. Even shy Emily, who rarely left her house, gave me a nod while watering her roses. Linda, however, was plotting. That night, my security cameras caught her sneaking onto my property, dumping a bag of rotten garbage behind my truck. I saved the footage but held off reporting it. I wanted more. Linda escalated. A week later, an official HOA letter arrived, fining me for disrupting community access. It was pure fictiano signatures, no letterhead, just Linda's handwriting. I scanned it, posted it online with the title, "My neighbor tried to tow my truck. so I closed the street. The post went viral on a local forum, racking up thousands of likes. Comments poured in. "This is how you handle bullies," and "Permit King." The internet loved it, but Linda wasn't done. She called an emergency HOA meeting, plastering flyers on mailboxes with phrases like neighborhood crisis and abuse of power. I attended, sitting in the back of the community center. Linda took the stage, calling my project a hostile takeover and accusing me of weaponizing permits. She avoided mentioning her fake citations or the 2 attempts. Then Mrs. Clara stood up. At 78, she was soft-spoken but firm. "Linda's been harassing us for months," she said, pulling out a note Linda had left about her unsightly mailbox. The room erupted. Neighbor after neighbor shared stories. Linda fining kids for skateboarding, threatening Tom over his holiday lights, and demanding Emily remove her garden gnomes. The HOA president, Mr. Hayes, suspended Linda from her self-appointed role on the spot. She stormed out, humiliated. The final blow came when I caught Linda on camera again, this time slashing a bag of spoiled food into my recycling bin. I sent the footage to the city and the HOA. An audit revealed Linda had misused HOA funds for personal projects, like her fancy mailbox and extra security cameras. She was fined $10,000 and banned from HOA activities. Days later, a for sale sign appeared on her lawn. No goodbye, no apology, just a moving truck in silence. But Linda had one last trick. A month later, I was served with a lawsuit. She claimed I'd caused her emotional distress and reputational harm, demanding $75,000. My cousin, a lawyer, took the case pro bono. In court, Linda rambled about my psychological warfare. My cousin presented the footage, permits, and her fake letters. The judge dismissed the case in 45 minutes, ordering Linda to pay my legal fees. She left the courtroom defeated, and I never saw her again. Cedar Lane healed. New neighbors, a young family with a friendly dog, moved into Linda's house. They hosted a block party, and kids drew chalk art on the street. My workshop was finished, a clean space with tools on pegboards and a desk for paperwork. Sitting on my driveway one evening, I felt peace, not because I'd won, but because the neighborhood had. We'd stood up to a tyrant, not with fists, but with facts. This story isn't just about a driveway or a petty neighbor. It's about power, justice, and what happens when someone tries to bully a community into submission. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Have you faced a Linda in your life? How do you handle injustice or abuse of power? Share your stories and let's talk about standing up for what's right.